Welcome. Here is the Law Society of America's biggest digital finance legislation of the year. In July 2025, the United States passed a groundbreaking piece of legislation called the Genius Act, the Guiding and Establishing National Innovation for U.S. Stablecoins Act. This law is a landmark in American financial regulation and marks the most significant step ever taken to regulate the booming world of stablecoins. For years, stablecoins existed in a legal gray area. These digital tokens, usually pegged to the US dollar, promised stability and ease of transfer, but operated without clear rules. The result? Billions of dollars tied up in opaque systems, frequent speculation, and growing concerns from lawmakers, regulators, and economists alike. The Genius Act changes all of that. This law introduces a clear, enforceable framework for companies that issue stablecoins in the United States. For the first time ever, issuers will need to secure a license, either from a state government or directly from federal authorities. The Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, or OCC, will issue federal licenses, while state-chartered issuers must still get approval from the Federal Reserve to ensure uniform standards. The dual-path licensing approach allows innovation to continue at the state level while ensuring that federal agencies have oversight. This prevents regulatory loopholes and brings legitimacy to the stablecoin market, which has often been criticized as unregulated and potentially dangerous. But licensing is just the beginning. The Genius Act lays out a strict set of requirements that every stablecoin issuer must meet. First and foremost, all stablecoins must be backed one-to-one with real-world assets. That means for every digital dollar issued, the company must hold one actual US dollar, or an equivalent amount in short-term US Treasury securities or other safe, liquid assets. No exceptions. Gone are the days of algorithmic stablecoins or vague promises of reserves. Under the new law, everything must be provable and redeemable. To enforce this, the law mandates monthly public disclosures. Issuers must publish independent attestations showing that the assets backing the stablecoins really exist and are available for redemption. And speaking of redemption, the Genius Act requires stablecoin issuers to allow users to redeem their coins for dollars at any time. If you hold a regulated stablecoin, you must be able to exchange it for real money, no delays, no excuses. This provision is designed to protect consumers and prevent collapses like the one that happened with Terra Luna, where people were left holding worthless digital assets. The law also imposes strict operational standards. Issuers must have strong cybersecurity protections, detailed risk management protocols, and systems in place to detect and prevent fraud or technical failures. This isn't just about dollars and cents, it's about stability, trust, and security in a rapidly evolving financial world. Anti-money laundering compliance is another cornerstone of the Act. Stablecoin issuers must verify the identity of their users, report suspicious activity, and fully comply with the Bank Secrecy Act. This eliminates the possibility of anonymous stablecoin activity within the regulated framework. Illicit use of stablecoins has been a major concern for regulators, and this law takes direct aim at it. The Genius Act also introduces the legal concept of a payment stablecoin. This is a digital token designed specifically for use in payments, everyday transactions between businesses, consumers, and financial institutions. These are not speculative assets. They are meant to function like digital cash and are held to the highest standards of transparency, liquidity, and accountability. This will set them apart from other digital assets or crypto tokens used for investment or speculation. To qualify as a payment stablecoin, the token must maintain a fixed value against a single fiat currency, be backed by high-quality assets, and be redeemable at par. For major stablecoin issuers like Circle, which issues USDC, this new law is a game-changer. Circle has long pushed for regulatory clarity and operates in a relatively transparent way. The Genius Act will likely benefit them, offering a clear path to national legitimacy. On the other hand, companies like Tether may struggle under this new framework. Tether has often been criticized for its opaque reserve practices and limited transparency. If they cannot meet the Genius Act's strict standards, they may be pushed out of the U.S. market entirely. The law could also open the door for traditional financial institutions and fintech giants. Companies like PayPal and Square now have a roadmap to become regulated stablecoin issuers, giving them the opportunity to integrate digital currencies into their platforms in a legally compliant way. Banks may also issue their own stablecoins, backed by insured deposits or central bank reserves, adding further competition and credibility to the space. The political momentum behind the Genius Act was surprisingly strong. It was a rare example of bipartisan cooperation in Congress, with support from both Republican and Democratic lawmakers. The collapse of several crypto projects, the widespread losses suffered by retail investors, and growing fears of digital asset-related financial contagion gave lawmakers the urgency they needed to act. The law's goal is to protect consumers, promote responsible innovation, and preserve the stability of the U.S. financial system in the face of disruptive technologies. The law also carries serious penalties for non-compliance. Issuing a stablecoin without a license is now a federal offense. Violators face hefty fines, up to $1 million per day, and potentially even jail time for repeated or intentional violations. The Federal Reserve, the OCC, and state regulators will coordinate enforcement to ensure that no entity slips through the cracks. The message is clear: if you want to play in the American financial system, you have to follow American rules. Some critics argue that this regulation may go too far and could stifle innovation. They warn that strict rules may drive crypto startups overseas or discourage experimentation. But supporters of the law argue that a well-regulated market will attract more trust, more users, and ultimately, more growth. Regulation, they say, is not the enemy of innovation, it is the foundation of sustainable innovation. The Genius Act isn't about banning crypto. It's about setting guardrails so that stablecoins can thrive without threatening the financial system or hurting the average consumer. With the law now in effect, we can expect a flurry of activity in the coming months. The OCC will release detailed licensing guidelines. The Federal Reserve will publish additional supervisory frameworks. Crypto companies will start applying for licenses, and state regulators will need to coordinate with Washington to ensure compliance. Exchanges and wallets that offer stablecoins will need to review which assets meet the new legal definition and which do not. Some may delist non-compliant coins, especially if there's legal risk. Foreign stablecoin issuers may also face pressure to align with U.S. standards or risk losing access to the American market entirely. Beyond America, the Genius Act is already influencing global debates. The European Union has its MiCA regulation, but the US has now set a new benchmark specifically focused on payment. Stablecoins. Countries around the world may follow suit, adopting similar frameworks or cooperating with the US to enforce international standards. In time, this could lead to a global regulatory regime for digital currencies, one where trust, transparency, and consumer protection are prioritized over hype and speculation. This is a defining moment for digital finance. For years, the crypto world grew rapidly but chaotically. Now, with the Genius Act, the United States has taken a bold step toward bringing order to the chaos. This isn't the end of the journey, but it is the beginning of a new chapter.